This is fun. I am so happy you're all here. We got a room full of people who are willing to come out with our natural air conditioning with the windows all open, so we are healthy. And we're going to have you're going to have a fabulous meal. Anyway, I want to welcome our chef, Alan Campbell, who was born in Boston. He's widely known as the sport nutrition world is often recalled as the chef of peak performance. Now that means we can perform well too. We don't have to be an athlete. He has worked with athletes, actors, entertainers, and people like you and me, and has been longtime personal chef to Tom Brady. It's going to be interesting, isn't it, on Sunday? We got two 40-year-olds? 40-something-year-olds playing against each other, and they're both on this. Are they both on the diet? Anyway, together, he and Tom developed I'm reading this because this is the name of the book, TB12 Nutrition Manual, which is widely credited with fueling Tom's mastery on the field. The whole family is eating like this now. Now, where am I going here? Okay. He's also co-authored with Julie Loria of The Game of Eating Smart. He is trying to get this locally and nationally to everybody. Now, Tom Brady is a vegan, am I correct? Vegan, he isn't? But, okay, but what is he? A lot of plant-based, but he eats meat? Okay, fine. Well, he is going to talk about what his theory about cooking is. You're going to taste his food. He really wants you to pay attention because they're going to give you the recipes that you can do at home for yourself if you like this food. So let me introduce Alan Campbell.
Thank you, Dale. I really appreciate that. Such kind words. So it's my honor to be here. You guys took me out of cold Boston and brought me down to beautiful West Palm Beach, and we get to have windows open and we're not bundled up. It's really nice to be here. So today I get to talk about my favorite topic, which is food. Right? And by food, I mean good food. Usually when people say good food, like that restaurant has good food, he makes good food, she makes good food, it ignites something within us that we have to go there, we have to try it. And it usually means it tastes good or it looks good. If it's on Instagram and it's nice and pretty, like it gets our attention, we like it, we comment. But today I want to tell you about what good food means to me. So good food for me, it really is the food that loves me back, right? For so long, especially as a kid, good food was food that tastes good, that was overly stimulating my palate, my taste buds, gave me energy so I could run around. That was good food to me back then. And over the years, that has changed. And I think over this past year, I wanted to say this as well, up in Boston more so than Florida, we've been locked down, we've been quarantined. And a lot of us really took a step back and looked at who we're surrounding ourselves with. We're looking at having healthy relationships, not only with people, but also, in my opinion, with food. And so the first note I want to make is, choose food that not only tastes good and has good eye appeal, the stuff that we see on Instagram and social media, but food that is well-rounded, that comes from good roots, from biodiverse soil. Organic regenerative food would be the best, and has potential for a more long-term relationship. In my opinion, we should be choosing food the way we choose even our life partner. And if we do that, we're going to win every single time, right? Awesome. So, like I said, I love food. And this phrase, I love food and people, it used to mean one thing, and this has evolved over time. it used to mean so many different things to me as a young aspiring chef. You know, I was trained in very traditional cuisine with high-end chefs, and would just use anything we had to make the food taste good and look good, and nothing else mattered. The amount of butter, the amount of salt, the amount of oil, the amount of sugar, all those things were irrelevant. And we only knew what we knew up until that time. So as a kid, you know, I got into the kitchens around 13 years old. I was already working in kitchens, in professional kitchens, and also in the house that I grew up in, my mother was a pretty decent cook, but there's something about the Irish heritage, like the spice cabinet is like empty. There's like nothing going on, you know? They fill it with like potatoes and rice, and that's it. Maybe a little bit of paprika on a chicken cutlet or Bell seasoning at Thanksgiving. Like that's really all that there was. So although it was great at the time, I didn't really have a very diverse palate. We didn't travel a lot. I didn't have that. So I get into kitchens at a young age, and I'm just so curious about flavor profiles and different cuisines and how I can mix this with that. And I just get so pumped up about it. I start taking notes and in my mind creating these new flavors that I was dying to try. And you know, over the years, I start to develop these traits as a chef, and this phrase starts to come to life, and I start to really love the food that I'm eating and making, and I start to love the whole experience around feeding people. And now food shows me how to love people, right? And that meant I wanted to give you an experience. I wanted to mesmerize you with flavors and tantalize your palate, and that's really what it was about back then. And like I said, over the years, this meaning has changed quite a bit. The desire I have to provide this experience and set the tone for special occasions becomes an exchange of energy that we can't replace with anything else. You know, chefs get to harness this exchange with people that not many other industries get to really do. And the takeaway here is you don't need to be a chef to have the same love for food and people, because we all eat and we can all have that same love. And so this phrase, like I said, I've come to realize just how important it is to truly love food and people. And like I said, the food that loves you back. And when we love the food that benefits the people, it truly benefits their health, their habitat, their natural resources like soil and water, and we have that consciousness and awareness, we embrace that phrase on a much deeper level, and now the phrase has validity and meaning. And having said that, this puts chefs and even home cooks and food creators alike in a pretty powerful position to have an impact on not only culture, but overall human health. One note I wanted to say, the salad you're eating today, this is local farm salad. They took it right out of my book. It's seared avocado with some spices. It's got a pistachio granola and an ají amarillo dressing. So all the recipes today will be directly from the Game of Eating Smart. So here we are, the Game of Eating Smart.
Really good.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Any baseball fans in the room today? I know you are. Any baseball fans here? A little bit, a couple? So the Game of Eating Smart was a collaboration with Major League Baseball, 21 of like the top players in the league. We had, locally in Boston, we had David Price. He was on the team at the time. Ian Kinsler as well. Giancarlo Stanton. Yeah, we had quite a few of the best players. Clayton Kershaw just won the World Series. So we had quite a lineup of players. It's half memoir for the baseball fanatic, half like the most cutting-edge nutrition meets kid-friendly recipes you're ever going to find in a book. Essentially, that's what it is. If those of you that want to get it, that's what to expect. And on the behind the scenes is what I did is I broke down the interviews from the players. I looked at what they loved to eat, where they were from, and even some of the charities they got involved in, because honestly, some of them had the most boring eating habits I've ever seen. It was chicken and sweet potatoes like all across the board. So I'm like, okay, well, what charities are you involved in? And I would like really dig deep to find something unique to make the book diverse and not just super repetitive. And then at the end of the day, the intention was to create a book that connects the everyday baseball fan, the fan that loves the nachos and the hot dogs and all that stuff that baseball is, that American baseball is about. And I wasn't trying to make a fake hot dog. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not a fan of the fake meats and all that. But I tried to create recipes that even my own family, super sports fans, love to eat that way, that they could connect with. That they could genuinely pick it up and, oh, that looks delicious, that looks familiar, that's something that I would actually make and eat. And so I guess this book, I'm so blessed to have written it and to have it be an example of what I mean when I say I love food and people. This is one of my many steps that I'll take to show that to people and to give them tools to actually take away and to practice this in their own eating habits. So it's a combination of whole foods that are not only nutritious and will certainly help one attain all of their dietary and performance goals, but recipes that will taste familiar and be approachable by the masses. So as I said before, I believe the leaders in the food industry are in a position to have a tremendously positive impact on our culture and overall health. A chef to some may be just the opposite. He or she may be more of an entertainer. We see a chef like Gordon Ramsay. I love Gordon Ramsay. He makes me laugh. He's really good on camera. He's got so many shows. Some people just want that. That's what they expect from a chef, and that's great. I love it because, like I said, I'm loving it too. And some chefs couldn't care less about anything past that. They couldn't even care less about coming out into the dining room. A lot of us are antisocial freaks by nature. We don't want to be in the dining room. We want to be in the kitchen. That's our makeup. But here we are in 2021 with more information than ever coming out about our health and our current situation, and more importantly, how we take care of our bodies. And I believe the chef is in a unique position to make food as medicine a reality. A lot of times the doctor will say, hey, you should eat this way, you should think about a plant-based diet, you have this condition and this will help, but then you leave the office and you're not really left with an actual solution. So I feel as though a health-conscious chef is in a really powerful position to bring that to a reality. Even more so than a vaccine or another pharmaceutical, I'm a big fan, obviously, of the food as medicine approach. I could go on and on about that. I'm not going to bore you with my theories around food as medicine, especially on a sunny, beautiful day in Palm Beach. So, like I said, obviously, smart living, the game of eating smart, starts in the kitchen. And a lot of people will say, if they're working out with a trainer and they're trying to eat healthier, 80% of it is in the kitchen. Abs start in the kitchen. 80% of the results will start in the kitchen. And that's 100% true. I couldn't be a bigger advocate of that phrase and that approach. But I would be giving you half of a message today if I didn't point out a few other things. Because like I said, I've been eating this way for about 10 years, really like looking at my eating habits and my overall lifestyle. And it wasn't always this way. Being a traditional chef, working long hours, your circadian rhythm is whacked, everything is out of line. You're not really living a healthy, productive, your quality of life is basically in the trash can most days. It's a tough industry. But even in the industry, working in a management position in a hotel that was pretty demanding, as challenging as it was, I still found a way to make it possible. When you make this a priority, no matter what your job is, attorney, finance, doctor, whatever it is, we can always find the balance if we make this a priority. And part of that balance is incorporating things like sleep. Just being consistent. If there's a few other takeaways that I can give you today, aside from eating healthy and eating smart, it's this. Because I know from my own experience. So simply having a consistent sleep pattern. Going to bed at the same time every night and waking up at the same time every morning. As simple as that sounds, can be a game changer. Mindfulness and meditation. game changer for me. You know, before this talk today, any nerves I may have had aren't there because I did a simple like 10-minute meditation with some breathing exercises. That's just what I do. If I'm gonna give a talk, I wanna be present for you guys. I don't wanna be in my head and all angst. You know, that's kind of my approach. And also, I think we forget as well is when we're not sort of present when we're eating, our body isn't even assimilating the nutrients the right way. You know, there's this whole like high level of cortisol happening. The body doesn't even know that we're living in modern day society still. We haven't evolved to that place. So the mindfulness is not just about being quiet and letting go of the, you know, the stress of living in modern day society of 2021. It's really getting in touch with the body so that we can better assimilate nutrients, we can be more present, we can take that pause before we make a decision, all of those things. Just as important as anything I can put in front of you today. And then obviously exercise. Exercise is gonna, you know, produce the, you know, the endorphins and get the hugging people. A lot of hugging isn't happening these days. Like the release of oxytocin is missing in our life today. So simply connecting with people. That's why I'm so excited to be down here. I haven't done anything like this for over a year. I've canceled everything in Boston. Boston's on complete shutdown. So to see everybody in the room today just enjoying each other's company and having food isn't enough for me. I'll go back and be like beaming for a few weeks. So this is an image of what my dreams look like in Boston in mid-February. That's like the palm tree that I dream about in my head. It's funny the designer was able to capture that. So I want to leave you on this note. For me, this journey has been about baby steps. You know, like I said, it didn't happen overnight. I slowly started to listen to people around me that I sort of looked up to and respected, and they were health conscious, and they were like, hey, try a little bit of this, try a little bit of that. And I was pretty stubborn, pretty set in my ways because I'd built a career on what I look at now as somewhat unhealthy food. So it took a minute for me to really realign my priorities and look at what was important and what I was actually consuming. And so my goal today was to spark that conversation around good food and what good food really means. Food that loves you back. So again, Dale, I don't know where you are. There you are. Thank you so much for having me today, and thank you all for coming and experiencing my food, and I can't wait to meet all of you in person. Thanks.
Does this work? Yeah, terrific. I was recently reading an article about how your blood type affects what foods you should eat. Is there anything to that?
No, I think I was telling last night at the dinner, we talked about this, like there's a million ways to skin a cat, you know? And like we were talking about an anti-inflammatory, completely anti-inflammatory diet to help with disease, right? And then we also, and there's studies that will show that. And then on the other end, there's studies that will show that a diet full of fat running on ketones, being in ketosis, does the same thing. Two totally separate diets, right? And they have research on both ends. So to be honest, I've done a lot of this. I'm not big, but I've done a little biohacking and sort of like tapping into what works and what doesn't. I haven't done the blood type one, but yeah, I'd be curious to see the response to it. There's got to be some validity to it if it's been around for so long. I've been asked that question actually a lot, and I honestly I haven't experienced, don't have experience with it. I think more so if there's a medical condition that we just can't find an answer to. Like I'm all about trying the alternative approach, and maybe the blood type diet is a good option.
Hi, sorry I haven't read any of your books, so you
It's okay.
probably have discussed this, but what about dairy? I'm hearing a lot about dairy-free, and dairy's a problem, and so do you include dairy in your recipes?
Yeah, so I don't, no.
Okay.
No, so none of my recipes or books have dairy, gluten, or any white sugar at all.
Okay, so you assume that dairy is not a great.
Yeah. So again, it's it's a long conversation. We can do this. We can do this for a while. So anyway, where we're at now with dairy, conventional dairy is one of the worst things, right? But if we look at dairy that's raw, that was the way it was when we first started drinking cow's milk, what kept us alive as a species, right? We wouldn't be here without it, really, some of us. So, but then you look at the studies, and some of the doctors that I follow and have studied from, they look directly at casein, like in the China study, for example, and casein is directly linked to cancer growth. So, but then on the other end, you look at like the benefits of giving a child dairy because of all the protein, and some doctors and medical professionals will say that it helps them to grow and all that. So there's mixed views in my opinion. I've dropped it completely, but that's just one view.
So have you dropped all animal products?
No, we still do wild animal proteins. I try to get wild when I can. Not all my clients are super excited about wild meats, but I do organic pastured eggs and chicken and wild fish, and in the wintertime there'll be red meat as well.
Okay, great, thank you.
Yep.
So you're as close as I'm ever going to get to Tom Brady.
Go to a game. You're a couple hours away.
I'm a fan, believe me. I'm a football fanatic, but that's not the issue. So what do most of these very high-powered athletes eat? What do you recommend they eat to burn off a lot of calories, to keep thin, to stay in shape?
Yeah, so the older one's different because a lot of the top athletes, especially the ones that I wrote about in the last book, they were young. The 20-year-olds, like 20-something-year-olds. So it's very different when you're that young. When you're Tom's age, the reason Tom went to the point he went to because he wants to play until he's 42. No, he's 43. So, you know, if I was in his shoes and I wanted to continue to play and perform, push my body to that level, I would do the same exact thing, which means he's cutting out foods that are inflammatory in the body.
So what's his daily meal?
So I wrote a lot about it. I have the nutrition manual is a complete outline of every season, everything he eats, everything he doesn't eat. So there's a lot of plants. He loves to start off with like a big smoothie, a lot of chlorophyll, seeds, plant proteins, things like that. And then again, it's very vegetable forward with some animal protein, not looking at sugar and white flour and that, but it's really not that complicated, to be honest. It's just looking at whole foods, making that the center of the plate. And when you focus on that, the rest doesn't even fit in. You know, there's no room for a piece of chocolate cake or whatever it is. You're so full from all the vegetables and the proteins.
Thank you.
Yep.
Hi. If you had to share with us your personal philosophy and maybe advice to us as we go out and grocery shop, how would you sum that up?
So the philosophy, like I said, my thing is if it's not found in nature, we shouldn't be eating it. Right? So like isolated nutrients, isolated oils and sugars, like if it's not found there, we're still like human beings. We're still part of nature, and we forget that. Because look at this, we're living in modern day society, where the body doesn't know that. So when we consume even oils, you're going to get some oil today, and I put oil in some, it's not a whole food though. It's really not. So if it had the same negative effects as white sugar did, I would completely scratch it out and never use it again. So it's really staying away from refined foods and just sticking with whole foods. So you got to fill it up with vegetables. Everything that's found in nature that grows from the earth, that needs to be at the forefront.
And I'm wondering also if you can share from last night, you mentioned about your demonstrations and your plans for what you can do for other people in the future.
The virtual classes? Yeah, so I'm going to start doing virtual classes, live streaming on the 21st. Locally to Boston and New York, we're going to deliver recipe kits, and then I'll go live in my apartment. You guys will be in your, well, not you guys, unless you live up there. I'm not going to ship. I'm not a fan of shipping. I don't like all the packaging. Maybe I'll have a place down here soon. But I'm going to start doing like live streaming with recipe kits and like little mini classes and stuff. So that's my first step at like educating and putting it out there on another level.
I do have a question. When you say streaming, can we get it here?
Yeah, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to record the live streams, we'll edit it, and then I'll have them with like a shopping list. So although you can't do it live with me, I'll have the video saved and then send, so whoever came today, this is what I'll do. I'll send you a list of the ingredients for that recipe, get the recipe, and you'll have access to the video.
Good.
Yeah, just let me know. Maybe give me your email or something, and I'll put you guys on the list.
Well, we'll give it to you if we have it, or they give it to you.
Okay.
Hi, thank you for coming.
Yeah.
So there's been a lot of focus on intermittent fasting recently, and I just want to see what your opinion is on that in terms of inflammation and then also just in general.
Yeah,
and
so
maybe
funny.
some foods that are, this is kind of off topic, a little bit different, but some foods that are good in serotonin production and that type of thing, since I understand a lot of it is produced in the gut.
Yep. Yeah, so funny. It's in my notes, and I missed that part. I'm a big fan of intermittent fasting. Really, it means a window. I just wrote a paper on this for one of my clients. So it's really just confining, one way to intermittent fast is confining yourself to a window of eating. And that is where all the studies are. That's where all the science is, and that's ancient. You know, the reason Mediterranean diet is so healthy is because they also fast. You know, Orthodox Greeks, that's so big in their culture that they fast for not just, you know, throughout the day, but sometimes days at a time. And the benefits around that, giving the body a break, letting the old cells detox and the new cells rejuvenate, that is a game changer. So personally, like I said, I didn't even mention it actually. My business is AC Kitchen. That's what I've been working on for the past year. It's an organic meal service that we service Boston and New York. And I have let things go. I totally was eating cashew butter at like 11:30 at night. Like I was not doing so well for a while. And back pain, like everything happens as a chef, 14, 15, 17-hour days, it's a lot. So over the past 3 months, now it's been about a year, I got a crew around me, they're trained, they're ready. I cut that window down of eating, and it's completely, that's my own personal, I always like to go back to my own personal experience. And that's what's happened for me. So yeah, I'm a big fan of whether you want to call it intermittent fasting or just choosing a window of time to eat. Huge fan of that. And it's sustainable. If you try to go like one day on, one day off, the science and the research around that shows it's not sustainable, that people mostly will fall off. But if you just say, I'm only going to eat between 12 p.m. and 7 p.m., that seems to be the most effective window. Mm-hmm. For sure.
Back to grocery shopping. Do you find that there's enough difference between organic and non-organic, those kinds of differentiations to pay the difference? Because I've read articles saying it doesn't make any darn difference.
So there's mixed reviews around that. I think on one hand, if you're going to eat no vegetables at all, and then I give you some vegetables that happen to be conventional, eat them, right? But when you look at the biggest thing around non-organic, recently, and the biggest proof that organic is actually better is glyphosate. Glyphosate is what they're spraying on non-organic crops. They just settled a huge lawsuit in California, I think $260 million because of glyphosate, directly linking it to cancer. So when you eat non-organic, it may be fine for some, but for others that have underlying conditions, it could be really life-threatening in the long run. So it's something to keep in mind. Obviously, like, it's hard to go organic, but I'm running a business now, organic, and it takes time to source and to find the products, but I'm doing it in real time now, and it's certainly doable.
Hi, thank you for coming. I hope you're enjoying yourself as much as we are. I look forward to watching your virtual class.
Yeah.
Okay, a couple of quick things for a layperson. I don't cook very much, and if you tasted it, you'd see why. In these age of COVID, when we don't have takeout, and the question is, so what do we try to do that is not quick, not long to do?
Yeah.
So you've seen all these companies are on TV, they have these frozen foods. They deliver them. You have, the 2-week supply, whatever it is. You see this couple jumping up and down on television saying we don't have to cook again. All right. I tried it for a few days, and the first day I looked at the box, and 60% of everything they make is sodium.
Sodium.
So, I mean, that's going to kill me faster than standing in front of a truck. All right. So that's the end of that. I called and I asked their customer service area, do you have anything non-salt? No. So the question is, you have any thoughts about this? And the second question I want to tag on is, I heard the word organic, and my doctor told me that the only fruit he didn't like were apples unless I ate organic apples. Do you have any thoughts on those two questions? Thank you.
Yeah, so I don't know if I made it clear, but my business is a meal service. That's actually what I do up in Boston. For that same, everything you just said, it's for that reason. There's not much out there. I want it for myself more than anything, but also there's a huge demand for it. So as far as getting a meal service locally, I don't know enough. So if you're getting something that's national and it's coming in frozen, it's going to have those things. If it's being mass produced, it's most likely not going to be the best quality. I don't know any that are. My recommendation would be to find a local chef and see, find somebody that may not be mainstream, that truly believes in healthy food, and see if they can provide some meal delivery. And then about the organic thing, like I said, if it's not organic, there's all that possibility that it's sprayed with glyphosate and other harmful pesticides. So is it the worst? Are you not going to eat any vegetables at all? Because if you're not going to eat any at all, then eat whatever's there. But if you can go organic and you really care on that level, then go organic for sure. And also, don't forget, there's also the Dirty Dozen. The Weston Price Foundation, and also the, anyway, the Dirty Dozen they'll put out a list every year of the foods that are the worst to eat non-organic, and then 12 foods that are actually safe to eat non-organic. Sweet potatoes are always there. Some foods aren't affected when they're sprayed. It doesn't get into the actual vegetable. So you have about 12 to 18 fruits and vegetables that will not be the worst if they're not organic. So that's something to look forward to if you don't want to go organic.
Hi there. I'd just like to say I'm eating the snapper right now, and it's delicious.
Oh, awesome. So, yeah, let me tell you, the snapper is, with the glass noodles and the stir fry, they just got it in, right now.
Right. I can tell it's fresh. But I want to know what your take is on, adding animal organs into your diet, such as liver or kidneys. I've been hearing a lot how dense they are in nutrients and whatnot. So.
Yeah, I'm a big fan. Honestly, I am. And there's even organ supplements. People that don't like the taste, you can get organs that have been dried and powderized and take the supplements. They're just, when it comes to nutrient density, wild animal organs can be some of the most nutrient dense, highest levels of calcium and iron and all these vitamins and minerals. I'm a fan. I even, mostly in the book as well, the only organ I used was chicken livers, because it's the most acceptable, and it's in a bolognese. Most people don't know, but truly delicious Italian bolognese has chicken livers in it. They're ground up, you can't see them, they look just like the ground meat. So that's my sort of surface approach to putting organs into a recipe for the masses. But if you're down to go after the kidneys and the big organs, you gotta know how to cook it though. You gotta braise it, you gotta give it a lot of flavor, a lot of love.
Okay, we have another one.
Hi there. As far as working out, pre-workout, post-workout, we were just talking about golf, and golfers, athletes, Tom Brady, and it used to be get a high carb load, before you run, the marathoners and all that kind of thing. So what would you recommend, other than those wonderful days when we can get the regular sleep, have a nice regulated day, and things go perfectly? Most of our lives don't go that way.
Yeah.
But then add being a performer or, high performance or athlete, pre-performance, post-performance.
So I guess it depends on how far you're going to push yourself. If you're going to run a marathon, you need to have pure, simple sugars. So like, I'm not a fan of white sugar, but that's the type of spike you need in order to run that race. That's why they have those little packets of glucose. They just suck them down the whole time because that's going to give them pure energy. Huh? Yeah, so I'm not a fan. Even in that case, I've worked with like high performance athletes as well, and I always recommend dates. I love dates. Dates are also going to give you a wide array of vitamins and minerals, and they have fiber in them. So although they're full of sugar, they're calorie dense. That's why I put them in energy bars. So an energy bar for me would be like dates, good fats, some superfoods like goji berries and mulberries. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, definitely. You need to have the balance. So if you're going to go play golf, I don't really think you need to have like this crazy amount of simple sugars. I don't think that's the case. It's a good balance of fats and complex sugars.
Thank you. I got one here for you. When you're talking about the bolognese, it made me think that sometimes veal is put in those sauces. I'm really kind of careful because I don't want to eat that.
Yeah, I don't either.
Because I don't even know the whole situation. But what occurred to me, one of my favorite things to get at a restaurant is lamb. And I realized that lamb is like a baby sheep, isn't it? And so I'm having a bit of cognitive dissonance here, I think. And have you looked into this issue? And I figured you've looked into it more than I have. So
yeah,
I'd still like to have lamb if you can give me a good answer, but thank you.
Yeah, so veal I won't do either. I won't put it in recipes. I told you guys white sugar, white flour, and dairy, but there's no veal, there's no pork, there's no other things, right? Because they're just not the healthiest, right? But for veal, I think it's inhumane, personally, because of the way that they're kept. They're confined. It's a bit torturous. So that's my personal belief. That's more of a moral thing. But lamb, I do use. Lamb, they're still raised naturally. They're just slaughtered early, really.
Oh, he's addressing him. Talking to him. Just talk. Hi. I would like to, I know Tom Brady mixes everything up, but do you have one or two protein powders that you think are quick and easy without so much? Some of them seem to me to have additives or whatever. So if you have a few brand names, that would be great for pre and post workout.
Yeah, so to be honest, getting back to Rachel's question about the food philosophy, so I think focusing on whole foods is the best way to go, and protein powder is not a whole food. It's an isolated nutrient, so unless you're like a bodybuilder, there's no need to have pure protein, in my opinion. A lot of athletes do, and a lot of people that I've worked with, they love protein powder, but from my standpoint, in my point of view, focusing on whole foods, protein powder isn't in there. Having said that, you want to get protein into a smoothie, I go after hemp hearts, flax seeds, chia seeds, almonds, walnuts. They all have some protein, and you put them all together, and they'll give you enough of what you need without the crazy, too much protein can be taxing on the organs. I'm not a huge fan of isolated protein.
I have a question. Actually, I have two questions. The first question is, you said that pork is bad, yet the nutritionist I used said that of all the different meats out there, that's the leanest and the best to eat. So can you try to reconcile that?
Oh, wow.
And my other question is, did you go to any of the culinary institutes or anything to learn your profession?
Yeah, so the first question about pork, I'm very surprised about that. I've worked with a lot of dietitians and doctors and functional medicine doctors. I've never heard that. Pork for me, the ratio of fat to protein, it's just too high. And pigs by nature, they don't really have a filtration system, so what they eat goes directly into their fat and into their meat, and you consume those toxins. And pigs will eat anything. They'll eat feces, they'll eat carcasses, they'll eat everything. Anyway, I can go on about the pig thing. I'm not a fan of pork at all. And then the other question was, sorry?
What culinary institute did you
Oh,
go to?
sorry. Yeah, I went to Newbury College in Brookline, but I also went to a trade school for high school. So 4 years of high school was also 1 week on, 1 week off of culinary arts, and then I went to Newbury College in Chestnut Hill.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Now, where do we get the recipes? I thought we were going to get them. I guess we can put them online.
Yeah, so I'm going to put them online. Yeah,
Okay.
I'll put them on there's some recipes on my website already, but I think if you go, I'll send you guys all my link. If you want to go to the website, you'll have the video after like the 25th, and I'll produce a shopping list of all the ingredients to buy to produce that recipe, and you can watch the live stream and also cook at home.
Alan, we have one more question. This is from the people joining us remotely.
Okay.
And this is from Katie. She lives part of the year on the Cape. So she's a Patriots fan. And then she lives down here in the winter. And she said she just ordered your book.
Okay.
And she needs you to move down here now.
Well, let's go. I'm waiting. Let's do it.
So I guess that we're going to have you come back and cook for us.
Yeah, so I lived in Miami for 5 years. I was telling you guys last night at dinner. My plan has always been to make South Florida my home base again. It's just been a matter of time. I'm going to come back here by the end of the year, actually.
Well, maybe we can use my kitchen if I fix it up.
Yeah,
you
let's
come
do it.
cook and everybody can come.
Cool. I don't know what's going on.
But anyway,
Awesome.
thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much.
Hey, you're welcome.